So today we're going to be hand stripping this young Standard Schnauzer. She's not 2 yet, so she's about a year and a bit. She's got a lovely coat. It is a bit longer than we would normally leave it, but due to my surgeries and owner's surgeries, we've not been able to get her done, but that's not a problem. We can still get her worked on. She's still got a decent enough coat. It's just a little bit longer and a little bit more to it. She's got a bit of soft undercoat under there, so what we're going to do is I'm going to just show you about carding her coat before I start to strip it. When I say carding it, what I'm doing is I'm using a carding knife and I'm working the knife down the coat as if I was just brushing it with a normal comb or brush. So this motion is exactly the same, and what it's doing is it's leaving all the rough hair, guard hair, alone, untouched, but it's pulling out any of the loose build-up of the undercoat that is there, which stops the regrowth, and it also stops the coat from actually sitting flat once it's been stripped. So if we get rid of this, we do that gently with the carding knife. And this is what we do when we're rolling our coats for the show as well. So she hasn't got a massive amount, but I just wanted to go over it. See? Just wanted to go over it before I started because she's got so much coat on her. Okay, so I'm going to use the terrier brush just to ruffle up again, and then with my carding knife. So when we're doing a strip, we're pushing the hair up into the path of the knife and gliding it down and pulling it out that way. What we're doing when we're carding is we're using the teeth, the blunt teeth on here, and what we're doing is we're using it as a comb, so it's going through the guard coat down into the undercoat and just removing any excess that is just sat there loose in her coat. We remove that coat, and in that way that will clear the pores. It will stimulate the pores as well with the brushing, and that will encourage new growth to come through, and for the older coat which is sat there to then develop into the guard coats, which will then are the bits that we do strip when we're hand stripping. So look, there's just a little bit there, but not a great deal. Okay, so I'm just going to do the other side quickly. Good girl. I'm still holding the skin nice and taut so that it doesn't hurt, and it's literally just like I'm going down with a brush. There's no real pressure going into it, the same as when you're hand stripping. You don't want a lot of pressure going onto the dog, because you're going to scratch their skin and irritate them, but also you can end up with an injuries on your your hand, your wrist or your elbow as well. So keeping everything nice and supple is going to help both yourself and the dog. So this isn't scratching her skin at all. It's not touching her skin. It's designed purely to go through the hair, the same as any of the stripping tools that we use. It's designed to work with the hair and not touch the skin to irritate. So you don't need to worry if you think that you're going to be irritating and scratching the skin. As long as you're using the right technique and holding that skin nice and taut, there shouldn't be any issues whatsoever. Looking at that. And that's a little bit more. So you've got a mixture of some of the older coat, but most of this is that soft downy stuff which is coming out. Okay. Some people will say, oh, use a rake. Don't use a rake. A rake will actually cut the coat, and what it will do is it will cut the wire coat. It won't go through that to the undercoat, and it will just drag everything out. When you're using a a carding knife, you are actually only taking anything that is sitting there loose in the coat. You're not pulling anything else out. Okay, so I'm quite happy with the fact that that is done there. I'm now going to swap over and do the first part of a hand strip. Okay, then there's just a few little bits. It's a good girl. It's a good girl. It's a good girl. Yeah, good girl. So when I get a hand strip on the table, the first thing I do is with my terrier brush is I just work through the coat, just brushing it through. This opens up the hairs, separates all the hairs. It's a good girl. Making it easier when it comes to stripping. Lift your head. Good girl. Like so. There we go. Stand yourself up a minute. There's a good girl. I'm going to just brush through her rear end. There's a good girl. Down into her skirt. Now, I have noticed with her legs already, I've noticed that she has got a few minor knots and a few little mats that are there. Some of them on the inside. This here we will clip. She's a pet dog, so we'll clip those bits out. It's the kindest way to do it, around her lady bits and everything. But what we can do is work through these little, they're only little, and they do just pull out like so. So we can, the ones that will come out and pull, we can pull them out. The others we will have to clip them or just scissor them, snip them, just so that we can remove them. When you're doing that, you really need to be pulling the hair apart on that, separating the good hair with that mat. And then what you need to make sure you do is you just go into the mat slightly. The best way to do it is to use what we call thinning scissors. If you go into it, I'm not going to do this one yet because I think I can pull this one with the chalk in it. But if you've got one that you can't, you just go into it. You go 1, 2 snips. That just loosens and cuts a little bit of the hair, and then you brush down, and hopefully that will actually release the anchor of the mat. That one, see, has just come away naturally, and then that way you won't have too much coat or any major holes. And she's still young, so she's still got a lot of leg hair to grow, so I'm not going to be touching too much on her legs today, on her groom. But what we will do is we just trim round her feet, trim in between her pads, do her nails, and just make sure that none of this hair is overgrowing her pad, because that there, once this gets really hairy, what you find is, put those down a minute, good girl. What you'll find is that they can't get any traction on or grip on any of the smooth surfaces. So if you've got laminate flooring, tiling, anything like that, they can't get the grip because the hair is taking over. So what we need to do is with a pair of clippers, we clip in between the pads. Also, you have to make sure that there's no bits of mat in there, bits of mud and stone that build up, and then they push the pads out, and that looks like they can deform their feet, but it just makes them a little bit heavier on foot. It can be quite painful as well. So I'll show you in a bit how we go doing that, but we will just trim around the edges for now. I want to grow that leg hair in a little bit so that we've got more to work with as she grows up. She's got more mats on the front of her here, and this is something that is so easily rectified. We can do that quite easily. She's not too worried about it, so they're not really bad mats. You find that when you've got a wire hair, taking out some of these knots and these mats, I hate using the words mats because they're almost like little dreadlocks rather than a mat. You see how that just pulls out? They pull out really easily. You can work through them really easily just by using a comb, finger and thumb, perhaps using your a bit of chalk as well. They can come out easier than if you had a fluffy dog, and then you'd be looking at having to shave the dog down. But when you've got a wiry coat, the saving grace is that you can work them through. See, those are just coming through. Okay, good girl. So we'll come back to do those ones once I've done some of the strip. But there you are, look how that's just come through. And she's not in pain, it's not hurt her, and she's let me do it. Okay, who's a good girl? Who's a good girl? Yes, she is. So what I'm going to do is I'll put those scissors away. I'm going to turn you around, sweetheart, and let's see if we can get everybody to see how we're going to start. I'm just going to lower the table down a wee bit. So as I did with Dana the Irish, I always start my strips at the nape of the neck. I start on one side and then work my way across. So I'm going like this all the way down to the base. Doing it that way, then it means that I can see what we can balance everything out as we go. Also, if for any reason we had to finish because say she was in distress or there was a problem, then or you're doing it at home and you're wanting to do it in stages over a week, if you were to strip one side only, your dog's going to look very unbalanced and a bit peculiar. So if you were to do it, so starting here and working like this and just doing it in ridges, then at least if you stop here, it won't look so bad. Okay, it will look a little bit odd because you've got a stripped area to still an unstripped, but it won't look as uneven, and you won't notice it as badly if you had just done one dog, one side of the dog, and then the other side is untouched. They look a bit yin and yang kind of thing. So I always start here and work my way around, and then that way if we did have to for any reason stop, then we haven't got too much of a problem when it comes to leaving her half done. So I'm just getting a little bit of extra chalk because I've worn down all my other. So we had a nice big chalk block, which I use a hard compressed chalk. I get this from Hub International. You can get other chalks as well. I'll just take that one out so you can see it. They do, these ones do last. Doesn't want to come out of the box. These ones last really well. These ones do last really well. They're really hard. They're great. They're my favourite. I can break it in half and use half of it and put the other half aside, so that way if I do have a dog that kicks it off the table, I'm not losing a whole box. I'm only losing, you know, only part of the box. Okay, so put that one out of the way. The other chalk that you can get, and you get this on Amazon or anywhere, it's Hatchwell's. Again, this is a good chalk block, but this is a slightly softer one, so it's not compressed as hard as the one from Hub International. As you can see, it's a little bit softer, which isn't a problem. That's not a problem at all. It just means that you will use this a lot quicker than if you were to have the harder one. So I tend to use this because I'm going through probably one of these half a block a week with the dogs that I do. If you've got one of these at home, these are going to be softer, but you will get through them. They can be a little bit more crumbly, as you can see, a little bit more crumbly, but again, I would break it in half and only to have half out. So if your dog, it does have a little bit of a moment and kicks it off the table, or you drop it, which I do a lot, it does mean that you won't lose all of your block. You'll only lose part of it. But there's that. So I'm just going to pop that in there. What I do as well is when I'm storing my chalk blocks, what I tend to do is have some loose chalk in a little Tupperware tub, and then I put that in there, and that just helps to prevent any knocking and breaking. It just cushions it a little bit more. Okay, that's the reason why I've got the loose chalk in there, and obviously it means that I have got one less bit on the table because I have the loose chalk here. It means that I can actually pick it up with my finger and thumbs and do the delicate areas that I need